Welcome to the Underdog Sniper Podcast. I am your host, MGCovers. This is episode 54. Greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We're doing this on a Tuesday. Was busy yesterday with life stuff and may or may not bump this to Tuesday. I'm not sure, but here we are for episode 54. Got a lot to cover. I'm super excited about this podcast. This will be a really great podcast and offer a ton of educational value if you want to improve your handicapping and sports betting. Go ahead and give you a rundown. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball, some changes I made there, both to the top teams in the model and also changes to how I handicap the bottom and the bottom teams. They're going to give you a really solid concept for handicapping MLB. It's something, if you follow me for a long time, you probably already know it, but it's a good review, and we'll talk about why it works. It's basically a statistical property. And then we're going to dive back into soccer, something I've sort of neglected, and shame on me because this model has been lights out here the last 2 or 3 days and leaving a lot of money on the table. And we'll talk about some changes I'm going to make there. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about my life here. Super proud of myself. I stayed up till 11:30 last night. I wasn't trying to stay up. It's just that I think my body's fully adjusted here to climate, completely different than it is in the United States. And so I've been here now 3 full weeks. And after this week, it'll be 4 weeks. Is that right? Yeah. So super proud of that. And another crazy thing to reveal to you guys is I don't use my AC, which is pretty wild. And a lot of people that are locals, Dominicanos that live here, don't use their AC at all. I'm in my living room now. I have 2 ceiling fans going and I have the patio door open, which is really cool. And I even sleep that way at night. And so it's crazy that your body feels normal. And probably like when I first came here, this would feel like it's hot here or it's hot right now, but it's not. It actually feels comfortable and normal. So anyway, so let's dive into it. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball. And I first want to bring up a screenshot here, if I can find the correct one. Okay. Now, this is kind of what started it. Now, I ran a backtest. Okay, first off, we had a ton of success with totals, Major League Baseball, preseason, spring training, ton of success with the model, spring training as well, handicapping sides. Not off to a great start for the regular season, applying the things that we learned in the spring training. It's a little bit different, so we've had to make some adjustments. Now, you're looking at a backtest that I ran for top teams, and if you're new or just to refresh here, what I was doing is I was playing the top 6 teams via the model. No, I wasn't assigning them any. I did assign them a money line, but in essence, I'm playing the top 6 teams, but only if they were not playing another team in the top 10. So what I did was I went back and ran a test. That was not profitable, by the way. Running that from 410 through 418 or 19, you can see here, it was actually down, I think, minus 2 units or something like that. And then, okay, maybe it was down 2 units here, 416. And then I continued to test and it was so going into 419, it was at minus 0.36 units. And this is the concept I want to teach you that I've talked about, that I kind of opened up the podcast with. The away team in Major League Baseball is guaranteed 9 at-bats. That is a statistical fact. Away team will always have an at-bat at the top of the 9th inning. And of course, I know this is elementary, but just to say it out loud so that we can understand it, the home team will not bat in the bottom of the 9th if they are winning. So therefore, the away team, well, technically, if you compared away teams to home teams, the away team is going to score more runs. It's a statistical property. Therefore, they will cover the run line more times than the home team will, simply because they're getting guaranteed an extra at bat in all those games. So therefore what I did here, and this kind of hit me, you can see they're right at 419. I stopped. It was at minus 0.36 units. So I said, hey, I'm going to go back. And here's what I did. Anytime a away team, the line was where we could get dog money on the run line, actually play the away team on the run line. And of course, if they were underdog, I didn't play them on the run line. That would be dumb. I just simply, counted it, whatever the line was, plus 126 or, plus 150, et cetera. And so I ran this test. Okay. When I went back and back tested this, and this is actually a back test through last night, playing the top 10 teams. And I'm going to talk about in a second why I did that. So we played away teams on the run line if applicable. And then the home teams, I would play it up to minus 150. So if the line was greater than minus 150, it would basically be a no play. Look at those results, y'all. 28 and 27, up 9.71 units. Now, it had a big day here on 420. It was up like 7 units in one day. But even taking out that big day, it was still up like 3.56 units. And if we scroll back a little bit, I don't know why Major League Baseball is streaky, but it just is. Look at this losing skid here, 0-9. And again, I wasn't wagering this. This was part of the back test here. So half of the day, 414, it had a goose on 415 and then lost the first 2 games on 416. But overall, it has been extremely profitable playing this way. And we're actually going to start applying this as well. Now, the reason that I went to playing the top 10 teams as opposed to the top 6 is this reason here. The average number of runs scored year to date in MLB, I tested this 2 days ago, is 8.5 runs. So teams are averaging 4.25 runs per game. The reason that's significant to know, if you back up to when I changed this model, which is now 3 years ago, they were averaging 9.2. So in order to average 9.2, that means you had a bigger dispersion between the good teams, middle teams, and the quote bad teams, teams at the bottom of the power rankings. So now that they're tighter, there's going to be more variance. So to give you another example, another sport, let's think about football, not this past year, but the previous 2 years, scoring was way down, right? Those unders cashed like crazy. And in fact, we had a winning season this year in NFL, but the previous year, 2 years ago, we had a losing season in NFL. It was my first losing season ever. And the reason was, in my opinion, the model just didn't work anymore because teams, they weren't scoring as many runs. They were tighter as far as the dispersion between scores. So it made it very difficult to handicap. And we're seeing that now with Major League Baseball. So in order to compensate for that, and y'all have heard me say this before, we want to play into the variance. So we want to play more volume. All right. And I think that's a much better approach, because if you try to cherry pick and do what I was doing, just playing the top 6 teams, it wasn't profitable. So instead of playing the top 6, we just add in more volume, play the top 10. You can see there that, it's been extremely profitable. We'll look on this other page. I did the same with the bottom 7 teams. Same exact concept, playing against the bottom 7 teams. Had a losing day yesterday. It was profitable 420. And it's very similar to what we've done with the top 10 teams. So this went 25 and 22, up 7.16 units. And also to note, this is for clients or anybody listening or watching. This doesn't mean that if you combine both of these, it would be up 16 units in literally like 10 days. Because I started this test on 410, because that was when we had sufficient data to run the model. Because a lot of these games will overlap. For example, Detroit was a play against. So we play against Detroit and for the team they're playing. And then San Diego, who they were playing against, was a top 10 team. So just for reference, that doesn't mean those are combined, because a lot of these games will overlap. But still, this approach, the way that we're handicapping this, I feel like is our best approach. And also, too, something I've learned here in the last year, and it's a reminder for everybody. And I learned this from listening to Circles Off podcast with Rob, and he was talking with other sharps, is that you need to know when your model was profitable and when it wasn't profitable. Meaning, your model might be very profitable at the beginning of the year. It might be very profitable at the end of the year. I made a coaching video on this, something I discovered in NHL, and I think we're going to use it next year, meaning applying a top-down concept for NHL late in the season will be better than actually playing the model. Model extremely profitable early on in the season, and then move to more of a top-down approach late in the season. When I ran the play against concept last year, it was extremely profitable. It made it all the way up to 24 units. Then it actually crashed right around, I think, the beginning of June, and that's when I made the changes. So I'll continue to monitor this, but definitely going to use this play against concept here for probably the next couple months, or at least all the way into May, and continue to monitor it, make sure it's profitable. So super excited and feel like right now we're moving in the correct direction for MLB. So excited about that. And I want to show you too, give you another example of variance here. So there's always exceptions to the rule in sports betting. This was from April the 20th. So we had 4 plays that qualified on the play against concept. Mets minus 137, Seattle minus 108, Cleveland plus 106, and then Atlanta minus 113. Now, y'all often heard me say we don't want to play a team that's going for the sweep simply because the statistical property of that means it's very hard to sweep. More times than not, that team will not sweep. So when a team is going for a sweep, we simply avoid playing those. Now, in this sample size here with these 4 games, we had, let me make sure I'm correct here. Cleveland was going for the sweep. Mets was going for the sweep. Atlanta was going for the sweep as well. So if I would have cherry picked those and eliminated those and only played Seattle, considering there's a tremendous amount of variance in Major League Baseball this year, that would not have been a smart play because we're only picking one game. Anything can happen in one game. So it would be better to play into the variance, play more volume. And if you have 3 teams going for a sweep, obviously more probably not all 3 of those teams are going to lose. Somebody's probably going to sweep. In this case, all of them won. But even if we would have gone 2-2, we would have turned just a smidge of a profit. But just an example of, number one, you need to play volume in Major League Baseball simply because scoring's down. You'll have a lot more variance. And also, too, there's always exceptions to the rule in this business. Always been that way. That's not to say to always play against the exception, but considering these circumstances, I felt like this was the correct way to play. So wrapping up baseball, super excited. I mean, I am really excited about that and think we can really start to turn the corner and get extremely profitable in Major League Baseball. All right, now, next thing I want to talk about is we'll jump over here to soccer. And as you guys know, I've had this obsession with soccer, and it's something that I've never been able to make profitable year in, year out, but something I think the first model we created was like 2019, which is wild, right? 6 years ago, and had marginal success with soccer, nothing to brag about. I think my best year was up like 3 units year to date. But I do believe the changes that I've made to this model is the best model that I've had for soccer. And I've tried to create different plug and play concepts. And I think what I really want to get back to the basics of this, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. I think I'm just going to look at this and just handicap this based on how I handicap in general overall, meaning we're going to look for plays with value, which in the sports betting community is called positive EV. For example, if my line here for this team here in the French league is minus 248, and the line is significantly less than that, maybe it's minus 150, maybe it's plus 100, etc. We have positive EV, and that would be a potential play. Then, of course, there's also the play against the 50-50 game. I mean, if both teams are like here in this particular game here, you got one team's plus 292, another team's plus 251. That is a 50-50 game, meaning both teams have an equal opportunity to win. And then, of course, there's also the play against concept, meaning you're not necessarily playing for a team to win. You're playing against the, quote, bad team. And I think just applying those concepts will help me handicap soccer. And I haven't exactly figured out how I want to do this, but I want to make myself handicap every single day. So I don't know if I'm going to make a video or if I'm going to have a play of the day that I'm going to mark for clients. Not sure how I'm going to do that, but I definitely want to handicap soccer every single day and to put together a quote card. And even if I don't have plays, force myself to say, this is the best play of the card. This is the second best play. This is the third best play, so that it helps me start to handicap. In case in point, when we look at this team playing against Lyon, I don't want to attempt to mispronounce it. They were minus 248. Their opponent, away team, was minus 179. And we go over here, and that team won 2-1. Look at that line. They were plus 380. Again, home team wins more than the draw or the away side. Again, my line was minus 248. Opponent was, what was that, minus 170. So we have positive EV. And we could also classify this as a 50-50 game, meaning both teams were favorites. So they have an equal opportunity to win. If we win 50% of the time or close to that, in soccer it would be significantly less. And considering it was plus 380, this would have been, quote, a good wager. And we go back to those lines. Let's look at Bologna playing Inter Milan. Bologna minus 248. Inter was plus 131. And we pull up results of that. Bologna wins 1-0. And then take a look at their form. They were in really good form. So this is going into that game. They had a loss and a draw, but prior to that, they had won, 7 straight, really good at home. Even prior to that, they hadn't even lost a game. at home. So look at the odds here. We were getting plus 229. And again, sometimes logically thinking through this, and I think in 2 podcasts ago, we talked about form as it relates to soccer, and form overall is very undervalued in sports betting in general. But you can see there, let's look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this team had not lost a match at home in 9 matches, and you were getting plus 229. So you don't have to be that smart of a person. Would that be a good wager, getting plus 229? Absolutely. And you could probably play it on the spread and guaranteed yourself a win playing on the spread, even if that match drew. So really good examples there. And we'll take a look at yesterday, and I did handicap this some. So you look at Bettis there at minus 156. And the way I would probably handicap away teams, I wouldn't play an away side if they were a 50-50 game, but you can see here their opponent was plus 129, so that was a true dog via my line, and the away side was minus 156. Again, the away side will win significantly less frequently than the home side. Very similar to a draw, win about 30% of the time, 35% depending on the league. And let's pull this up here. And you can see Bettis there won. Whoops, somehow I lost that. My bad. Okay, there we go. Bettis wins 3-1, and the odds were plus 170. So there were 3 matches there. And again, I know I'm cherry picking this, but I do believe I'm probably overthinking the process. And if the model is good, then all I have to do is take what I've already know and understand about how I handicap using the 50-50 game, playing teams with value, and of course, using the play against concept as well. So I'm super excited about soccer. And I think that's something that I got to figure out a way to make myself handicap these games every single day. So excited about that. Excited about Major League Baseball. A lot to look forward to. Hopefully pump out a lot more content this week. I've gotten kind of slack, but I feel like I'm now comfortable living here in the Dominican and can get back on a regular routine. So greatly appreciate you guys tuning in to the podcast. Talk to y'all later this week. Peace.